Hey, what's up guys, Darkbreaker here, and in today's video we are gonna talk about items, item builds, what are the best items, when to buy which items, what did I mark down, like best items for bruisers, for magic mages, for ADCs, for assassins, for supports, then talking about boots, which passives overlap, item combos, which items are working together super well, gold efficient items when you should just buy tier 2 items, for example, and then talking about penetration, penetration percentage and penetration flat, how that's gonna work exactly if you guys don't know it yet. But anyways, if you guys want to see more guides like this, then smash the like button. Can we hit, I don't know, 2,000 guys? Come on, can we do it? And obviously subscribe if you guys don't want to miss out on future guides. Guide ideas I have right now are matchup guide, talking about melee versus melee, melee versus range, range versus melee, differences between Baron, mid and bot lane, A to Z champion matchup guides. So for each champion we're gonna talk about the most important matchups in the current meta. For example, could be Camille against a Darius, against a Fiora, against a Riven, against a Renekton, etc. Against a Jace, how to play those matchups. But it would be like one champion per video, because if you guys, you can basically, I could probably talk 1 hour about just one champion, like in the Baron lane. Like for example, just talking about Camille and all of her matchups, I could probably talk like 1 hour about that one. And besides that, team composition guide, I marked it down in my notes. You guys wanna see that? Wildrift economics, how to earn as much gold as possible. Coaching breaker breakdown, that would be maybe a live video. Like I bring one of the viewers sends me gameplay, and we're gonna talk over that gameplay together on Discord. And then countering champions in the draft, that would be another option. So write down some ideas in the comments, and then obviously write down which guide you would love to see the first of all. So yeah, let's get started. Enough talking about all the upcoming future content that you guys don't want to miss out by activating the notification bell. Easy plug. Okay, let's get started with best items, core items in general. So how am I gonna do this? I'm gonna talk about bruisers, then AP, ADC, assassins and support. So let's get started with bruisers. Which items? I will talk about every item, but we are gonna start with the best items in my opinion for every single role or for certain champion types. Okay, get it? Okay, let's get started. So for bruisers, bruisers are champions like Camille, Fiora, Camille, Fiora, Irelia, Renekton, Wukong. Champions that can build a lot of damage but are also kinda tanky. So this is the archetype. I would just call them bruisers. You guys, I think majority of you guys know what bruisers are. So yeah. What are core items for bruisers? So when it comes to... oh, let's just not have any items for now. Okay, this way. Okay, bruisers. I think 2 core items on majority of bruisers are Trinity Force and Black Cleaver. Those items are really strong. And you guys might be wondering, Darkbreaker, when do I go for Trinity Force and when should I go for Black Cleaver? So, champions that have high base AD, those champions benefit from Trinity Force the most, and champions that have low cooldown on their abilities to proc the Spellblade passive. So let's compare the stats. Trinity Force gives you 200 gold, 200 HP, 20 attack damage, 30 attack speed, 25 ability haste, 5% movement speed and Spellblade. That's the key difference between Black Cleaver and Trinity Force. Using an ability causes the next auto attack used within 10 seconds to deal bonus physical damage equal to 200% base AD. Remember, base AD. So champions that have a low base AD in general, or base AD at level 15, won't benefit as much as champions that have high base AD. So that's really important. Then Rage. Attacks grant 20 movement speed and kills grant 60 movement speed for 2 seconds. Bonuses do not stack. Ranged champions gain half values. And now there's the overlap of the passive. Black Cleaver and Trinity Force, the Rage part of the passive, is overlapping. So if you buy both Black Cleaver and Trinity Force, you are not gonna get the Rage component. So the Phage component you're using for both Trinity Force and Black Cleaver is kinda wasted. If you have enough money, you could honestly go for both, but usually it's not gold efficient since you are spending 1.2k, or how much is Phage? 1.1k on Phage, which is kinda useless since the passives are overlapping. Okay, Black Cleaver. It gives you 350 HP, 40 attack damage, and 25 ability haste. As you guys can see, the difference is that Black Cleaver gives you more HP, gives you more attack damage, but doesn't give you the attack speed. So champions that benefit from AD, because the AD ratios are good, are benefiting from Black Cleaver more. And Sunder. Dealing physical damage is gonna reduce the armor of the opponent by 5% for 6 seconds, stacking up to 5 times for 25% reduction. So Black Cleaver is really good on Bruisers that can shred, that wanna build more tanky and that join team fights and have like AoE spells. For example, a really great champion that is using Black Cleaver is Wukong. The ultimate is gonna proc Black Cleaver on everyone, and it makes you more tanky since you're jumping into the backline to use your ultimate and do tons of damage, apply the armor shred and crowd control. So when on which champions is Trinity Force better than Black Cleaver? Fiora, Camille, Spellblade combo. The second part of Camille's first ability does true damage, and this combines with Spellblade will increase the true damage you are doing as a Camille. So Camille, Trinity Force, mandatory. Then you have champions like Darius that can build both Black Cleaver or Trinity Force. It's really up to your preference whether or not you guys want to be more tanky, be a frontline, or you guys want to be the damage dealer. So you have to consider, okay, do I want to be more tanky? Do I want to tank more for the team fight or for the team? Am I the only frontline, or is my champion really tanky in general and getting that Black Cleaver is going to benefit me? Or am I like the split pushing guy that's strong 1 versus 1? Or am I someone that is mainly about the 1 versus 1? But yeah, it's really up to your preference. Like, there are like duelist archetypes, split pushing duelist archetypes. Those champions are usually Trinity Force. And then you have the more team fight orientated champions, Juggernauts. Juggernauts like Garen, Darius. Those usually go for Black Cleaver or Renekton. Those are really tanky champions that also do a lot of damage. So those champions usually go for the Black Cleaver instead. So this is about the 2 best items on Bruisers usually. And then you also have Sterok's Gauge. This item is so strong, every Bruiser is running it. It gives you HP, it increases your base attack damage by 50%, and the lifeline makes you in teamfights super tanky, because the moment you fall below 35% HP, you get a bonus shield, and you also get tenacity, so crowd control reduction. I don't know if I'm talking about this immediately right now, but yeah, Trinity Force and Sterok's Gauge have insane synergy. Just because Sterok's Gauge increases the base attack damage, and the base attack damage only gets increased by your level usually. and Sterox Gauge is the only item that also increases your base attack damage. So by increasing your base attack damage, the Spellblade passive, you will do more damage every time you use an ability after using an auto attack. So great synergy with Trinity Force and Sterox Gauge, because Sterox Gauge is basically gonna enhance your Spellblade damage. So almost any Bruiser is usually going Black Cleaver, Sterox Gauge, or Trinity Force Sterox Gauge as their 2 core items. Almost any Bruiser, you can't do anything wrong when you're going Black Cleaver, Sterox Gauge, or Trinity Force Sterox Gauge. There are obviously some champions that like to run Blade of the Rune King, more aggressive champions that are really strong in 1v1 situations. As a Bruiser, you have Set, Renekton, Fiora, Camille. Those champions, those hyper carry champions, like to run Blade of the Rune King as well. Just because it gives you attack damage, attack speed, lifesteal, and attacks deal bonus physical damage equal to 6% of the enemy's current health on hit. For melee champions, even 9%. Plus Drain, hitting a champion with 3 auto attacks is gonna do magical damage and steal the movement speed. So for split pushing champions, they also like to run Blade of the Rune King second, or another item is Death Dance. Death Dance gives you HP, attack damage, ability haste, plus 10% physical vamp, and 30% of damage taken is instead dealt as a bleed effect over 3 seconds. A lot of Bruisers also like to run Death Dance. Majority of the time, if you are more teamfight orientated, you go for Trinity Sterox Gauge or Black Cleaver Sterox Gauge as your 2 first core items. In some scenarios, split pushing champions, they like to run Blade of the Rune King second or Death Dance second. So a Fiora build could look like this. Trinity, then since I'm a split pusher, I'm running Blade of the Rune King, or I'm running Death Dance second, and then I'm running later Sterox Gauge. And then the order is really up to you. You could go like this, you could go like this, you could go like this, you could go like this. It's really up to you. Depending on your preference. Do you want to be stronger in 1v1 and better at split pushing? Go for Blade of the Rune King. Farming potential is also better. You wanna be stronger in team fights? Sterox Gauge. You want to have both, basically be decent at 1v1, have the sustain, have the lifesteal, and be a decent duelist. Then goes Death Dance, then Sterox Gauge. I think I'm gonna talk about one of the most broken items in the mid-late game later on that applies on a lot of champions. But basically in the mid-late game, one of the main core items on any Bruiser is Guardian Angel. Guardian Angel almost on any Bruiser is always viable because it gives you attack damage, armor, and the revive. Just having the revive gives you the security to play more aggressive, and even if you die, you will revive, and it will give you or your teammates more time to respawn and help you out. So a lot of champions, it's like this maybe, or just like this. A lot of champions, you can run this or this on Bruisers, and you're not doing anything wrong. Just doing this pretty safe no matter what. And then you have other flex items like Death Dance and Blade of the Rune King that are super awesome on those split pushing champions or on those tanky Bruisers. I could run through every Bruiser, but you guys will find the similarities that it's always Trinity or Black Cleaver, then Sterox Gauge, and then maybe you go for more tanky items or you go for more aggressive items. Then it might be, if you go more aggressive, Death Dance or Sterox Gauge. Then in the mid-late game, you go for the Guardian Angel. And some champions that like to build more tanky go for the Deadman's Blade. Like this, for example. I mean a Darius or Set, they like to go this. Or they like to go this, and then they go for the... This is, for example, Set, Renekton. But yeah, what did I miss about those? Black Cleaver, Trinity Force, Dark's Gauge, those are the main core items usually, and then you can adapt. And then Guardian Angel majority of the times for Bruisers. And if you guys want or need armor penetration, which you most of the times don't buy on Bruisers, you can go for Mortal Reminder or Cirida's Grudge. But if I think about Baron Laners Bruisers, they never go for Mortal Reminder or Cirida's Grudge. It gives you the armor penetration percentage in the mid and late game. I'm gonna explain it later on. Next one, AP champions. What are the core items majority of the times? Let's hover over them. I think those 3 items are in almost any mage build. Almost any mage build, you will have Road of Age, Deathcap, or Void Staff. I mean, you will have all 3 usually. What makes those items so great? Road of Age is one of the best scaling items, very gold efficient when it comes to how much you have to spend. 2800 for 250 HP, 60 ability power, and 300 mana. Plus, you get up to 200 HP, 100 mana, and 60 ability power additionally. That's 120 ability power at max dex and 450 HP. If you think about all of those other items, they don't even come close in terms of ability power. Like Gunblade gives you 60 ability power, Infinity Orb gives you 60 ability power, Banshee's Veil gives you 70, but Road of Age max dex gives you HP, ability power, mana, insane amount of sustain, and 120 ability power in the mid game when you have it fully stacked. Then Rabadon's Deathcap. Why is this such a good item on mages? It gives you 120 ability power and increases ability power by 40%. This is a huge power spike, especially if you have good AP scalings. It will increase the damage output on your abilities immensely. Next item, Void Staff. Why is Void Staff so good? Because it gives you the percentage magic penetration, 70 ability power and 40% magic penetration, which is really good in the mid game or starting in the mid game. Remember the base stats, and then at level 10 usually the 40% magic penetration is already worth it. So the longer the game goes, the more resistance people will buy, and the more resistance they are gonna get from each level, because everyone has base armor. They have base armor and magic resistance, and per level they are getting additionally armor and magic resistance. So at around level 10, that's the point where Void Staff is actually really beneficial. So those 3 items are super amazing, and let's talk about other items that mages like to go for. I think a great filler is definitely, if you guys need anti-heal, then you get the Morello in the late game or maybe in the mid game. It gives you HP, ability power, magic penetration, and anti-heal up to 60% if the target is below 50% HP. I think I will talk about the others later on, since we're just talking about the core items. But yeah, that's about mages. I think those are the core items usually. Some people like to go Archangel, but how many? It's not that many. I think majority of mages, 80% of mages are gonna run with the Road of Age. Let's go ADCs. ADCs, what are core items for ADCs? I think majority of ADCs are running crit based builds. You have Jhin and Misfortune who don't necessarily buy crit, or they don't need the Charge Blade necessary. But besides it, almost any champion, they always love to go for Charge Blade, Infinity Edge, and then late game you go for some armor penetration. If you buy those 3 items, you are most of the times good to go. Like the item order might differ, but those are core items. We're just gonna talk about core items, not how you're building it every single time. So, core item number 1, Solaris Charge Blade. This is not in order, by the way. I'm just talking about the item itself. Solaris Charge Blade. It grants you 25% crit rate, 30% attack speed, 15 ability haste, and every time you use an ability, you get a charge which grants you additional crit rate 25% per charge. And your auto attacks that crit expand a charge to deal bonus magical damage on hit. So this item is so great to get crit rate very, very easily, especially on champions that have low cooldown reduction on their abilities, or they can spam their abilities pretty easily. Then you have Infinity Edge. It gives you 55 attack damage, 25% crit rate, and Critical Strike deals 230% instead of 200%, so that's a huge boost. Then afterwards, if you guys need armor penetration in the mid-late game, Mortal Reminder and Sirida's Grudge are both great options on ADCs. I think most ADCs go for Mortal Reminder, only some benefit from Sirida's. Mortal Reminder gives you the Last Whisper armor penetration. You can't stack Last Whisper because, as you guys can see, it has the same name. So passives that have the same name are not gonna double stack. So you're not getting 60% armor penetration. So this one gives you anti-heal, while the other gives you more ability haste, and damaging active abilities also slow the opponent by 30%. Otherwise, yeah, those are the core items. We could talk about like poking ADC champions that like to run Mana Immune, like Varus, or maybe a Corki. Or champions like Lucian or Corki that like to run Essence Reaver. Mana Immune, for Ezreal, Varus, very good. It gives you attack damage, mana, ability haste, and when it transforms, it increases. Like, it's one of the most gold efficient items for poking ADC champions. So Corki, Ezreal, Varus can run it. Misfortune can run it too. Who else from ADCs? But basically, 25 attack damage, 1000 max mana, plus 20 ability haste. You need to stack 700. You need to fully stack it by using your abilities. And once you have 700, it transforms into Muramana. And it grants attack damage equal to 1.5% of max mana. And every time you use an ability, you consume 3% of your current mana to do additional bonus physical damage. So this item is also really, really amazing on poking ADC champions. Otherwise, you can run Yumus on some champions like Jhin or Misfortune. Yeah, because it gives you... some champions don't benefit too much from crit and they want to snowball early on. Those champions like Misfortune can run Misfortune or Jhin, they can run Yumus, get attack damage, ability haste, armor penetration. And you also get attack speed and movement speed from this item, from the passive, so it's really, really good. Another good option... I only wanted to talk about core items, but also I'm already covering it. Bloodthirster. Bloodthirster on a Draven. Actually, Draven likes to run Bloodthirster first item, but I think it's the only champion that runs Bloodthirster first item. Some champions like to use it later on for some more lifesteal, because it gives you attack damage, crit rate, lifesteal, and a shield. I think I will cover the other champions, the other items later on. Because I just want to talk about the core items first. And I'm already talking about, yeah, you can build this and that and this and that. Oh, so much. Assassins. Assassins, lethality items or crit items. I think one of the best... assassins in general, and we're talking about melee physical damage assassins, because you have like Evelyn and Akali that are magical assassins. But let's talk about melee assassins like Rengar, Kha'Zix, Lee Sin. Well, Panther maybe? Yeah, Panther is an assassin, he can one-shot you. So I think Yumus is really good. Duskblade. Some around Black Cleaver. This is not Nord, I'm just talking about really great items on them. Edge of Night. Edge of Night kind of fell off. And some of them can run Trinity as well, or Black Cleaver. It's... Ooh, Black Cleaver Trinity, the question of questions. But I think we can all agree on Yumus being insanely good on those snowballing assassins. What did I even write on? I wrote on Yumus, Black Cleaver, and then armor penetration. I mean, that's fair. And for the lethality items, it depends on your assassin, basically. Yumus Ghostblade. Attack damage, 10 ability haste, 12 armor penetration, and extra movement speed plus extra attack speed. Pretty good item. A very good item on a Lee Sin. On a Rengar, you can run it. Do you run it? I think Rengar and Kha'Zix are those assassins that actually benefit from the Duskblade more. Duskblade, first core item on those champions, just because they have the invisibility and they can abuse the Night Stalker passive. So this item gives you attack damage, 10 ability haste, and 15 armor penetration, which is actually crazy for a lethality item. That's so much. If you compare it to the Edge of Night that got nerfed, only 8 armor penetration. So being unseen for 1 second causes your next attack against a champion to deal bonus physical damage and slows them by 99% for 0.25 seconds. So a Kha'Zix and a Rengar, they actually can benefit from this item a lot. And then, question of questions, do you run Black Cleaver or Trinity? I already explained that. Those two are also really good on those assassins. They can also run later on in the mid and late game. They could run Mortal Reminder or Sirida's Grudge. I already explained these items as well. We're gonna talk later on about... I might as well talk now about the armor penetration, okay? Differences between armor penetration percentage and flat armor penetration. So when is, like, usually you start with a base armor. Let's say a champion has 40 base armor. Having the 12 armor penetration is gonna reduce the armor from 40 to 28. So the value is pretty good, right? But if you just used Sirida's Grudge instead, it would get reduced by 16%. Oh yeah, I changed. It's even worse then. It would only reduce by 16%, which is actually so small. Like, that's only a reduction of 6.4 in the example that I just used. So early game, the flat penetration is better, but the higher or the longer the game goes, the more armor penetration percentage is gonna be better, because the Last Whisper is gonna scale with your level, and also the opponent is gonna buy armor. The opponent is gonna get more armor per level as well. So usually I would say level 8, level 10, that's the time when you can get armor penetration percentage, and it's still fine just because of the base armor. But especially if the opponents are stacking armor, that's when the value of having Sirida's Grudge is gonna be super good. Let's say an opponent has in the late game 200 armor. Probably even more. Let's say they have 200 armor. You get a reduction of minus 60. Minus 60 armor just from the percentage. And if you compare to a Humus, it's only 12. So the longer the game goes, the more armor the opponent is stacking, the better the percentage is gonna work and the more efficient it's gonna be. And then you guys might be wondering, okay, how does the calculation work when you have both flat armor penetration and percentage armor penetration? Then it's first you deduct the armor penetration percentage. So let's say they have 100 armor. So first they're gonna lose 30%, which is 70 left, and then minus 12, then you have 58. That's how it works when you have both Yumus and Cyrielda, when the opponent has 100 armor and you are level 15. Remember, level 15 for 30%. So the higher, like if you're level 10, you will have 20? 26? No. 25. Yeah, 25. Because then... oh, scuffed, man. So the more level you have, the more percentage reduction and the more value. So get it as the 4th item. In some cases, like Kha'Zix, he benefits from it already at 2nd item, just because you will have it like at level 8 and reducing from, let's say, 100 armor. From 100 armor, you're reducing like 25, and then additionally with a Dustblade another 15. So that's like from 100 to 60, not too bad. And just having the ability haste and the icy passive is already pretty good. And then another good core item on Assassins. I mean, it's kind of nerfed, so it's maybe not like... okay, it's not a core item anymore. It's a good situational item. Edge of Night, HP, attack damage, armor penetration, and a spell shield. So whenever a hostile ability is gonna hit you, you can block the next one. And 35 seconds cooldown. It used to be second core, it used to be a core item. It used to be a really strong core items. But yeah, that's it for Assassins. Let's talk about tanks, I guess. Tanks, supports. Tanks in the Baron lane. Tanks in the Baron lane, or tanks in general. What are great items for tanks? It depends if you categorize them into Baron lane tanks or support tanks, because support tanks, they are building slightly different. It really depends, like tank items, just buy tank items. What's core item for a tank? Like, it's so situational, to be honest, depending on the champion you're playing. Are there actually core items for tanks in the top lane? Like full tanks. Like, which tanks are played in the top lane? You have a Malphite. You have Gragas. What tanks are played in the top lane? Even Garen. Garen is a juggernaut. I wouldn't call him a tank. Wait, let me check tank. Let me check tanks, guys. Let me check some tanks in the top lane. Set, juggernaut. I wouldn't call him a tank. Singe, hybrid. Is he a tank? Honestly, I wouldn't say he's a tank. Jarvan, Bruiser. Mundo. Okay, Mundo, Gragas, Malphite. Nasus is not a tank, guys. But if we're talking about... Okay. I think the item that is almost used on those tanks is actually Sunfire. What do you guys think? Sunfire. Let's talk about Sunfire. Sunfire gives you HP, 15 ability haste, and deals 16 to 25 magic damage plus 0.8 bonus HP, plus 0.8% bonus HP per second to nearby enemies. Damaging champions or epic monsters with Immolate increases its damage by 8% for 5 seconds, stacking up to 6 times. Flame Touch. At max Immolate stacks attacks burn enemies around you for Immolate's damage over 3 seconds. Immolate deals 125 damage to minions and monsters. This item is just really amazing because it increases or it allows you to clear the wave easier. And because usually tanks struggle clearing the wave and keeping up with split pushers, so you can clear it quicker and join teamfights easier. Plus, having 500 HP and ability haste and AoE bonus damage in teamfights is pretty useful. Malphite and Gragas are building Iceborne Gauntlet. Mundo doesn't build it. Mundo builds whatever he wants, any tank item. Spirit Visage, core item. I think Sunfire is like the core item which is always used on really tanky champions. A Wukong that builds full tank, a Jarvan builds it as well. A Jarvan full tank builds it as well. We're gonna talk about the tank items later on. But I think this is a pretty good core item. Because tank has so much... Oh! I have something that's really good that a lot of champions are just building early on. Rumble Vest. Gold value is insane. But since we're talking about this, we can talk also about the tier 2 items that are good. The gold value of Rumble Vest is insane. 1000 gold for 30 armor. Then you get Thorns. When struck by an attack, deal magical damage plus 8% bonus armor to the attacker and inflict anti-heal 40%. This item is insane on tanks, and a lot of tanks are rushing armor boots into Rumble Vest. Gold efficient item, super good, and then later on you can finish it into Thornmail. Or some people don't even finish it. If you guys need the anti-heal 60%, then go for the Thornmail. And the other item that is really good, called gold efficient wise. I think those items are... I mean, who buys Hexdrinker, honestly? I think no one buys it, it's not worth it. How many champions buy this early on? A few. Not that many. A few. I know, obviously, which one is super sexy. This and this. And for AD items, gold efficient items. I guess if you need anti-heat, this is obviously gold efficient. Pretty good. I mean, Hexdrinkers honestly can be decent. Is it that good? This is also pretty good gold efficient items, but how many people do buy it early on? Not that many. We're talking about tier 2 items that you don't need to finish early on. Okay, never mind. Usually the end result of Sheen is so powerful that you always finish it. How often do you buy Sheen and never finish it? You always finish Sheen. It's not Sheen. It's not Sheen. Sheen is good, very good, but you always finish it early on. Which champion just buys Sheen and then doesn't finish the next item, the tier 3 item? Because the tier 3 item is too good. Magic Pendant. Okay, let's start with hunting, guys. Champions like Akali, Cannon, maybe a Gragas, Singed. It used to be really broken because it gave you HP, ability power, it cost only 1.3k, and the Madness passive was so broken because you deal 1.2 more damage for each second in combat, up to 6 seconds. It used to be, I think, yeah, it used to be 10% damage. So if Akali marks you with a Shuriken, or Singe Poison, or Gragas Barrel, he would be in combat super long, and then you can stack up to 10%, and then you have a free champion rune. You basically had a free champion rune using hunting guys. I think it's still really good on some champions. They can benefit from the passive. Just for the passive value. It gives you, like, the thing about this item is it gives you HP and the passive. So you're not too squishy for the first team fight. Then Executioner's Calling, 20 attack damage, and majority of champions are gonna finish this item into Last Whisper later on. Plus it gives you enter heal. I think the main thing is just about the enter heal. If you guys need to, buy this item for enter heal in some certain matchups. If you're playing a Soraka, if you're playing against Fiora, if you're playing against champion with a lot of sustain, get the Executioner's Calling early on. Or Mundo, very important. Prophet's Pendant, also really good item, gold value wise, because it gives you HP, ability power. Like I said, those stats are really amazing just for the first team fight. And then 15 magic penetration, really great or really good for snowballing. Oh, Serrated Dirk used to be really good as well. Some champions just bought Serrated Dirk, but they reduced the armor penetration, so the value of getting it early on and not finishing it is not as crazy anymore. Seeker's Armguard, kinda situational, but can be pretty useful if you guys want armor and ability power. Hex Drinker, super situational. Maybe if you face a Kali or something, your Bruiser, you can benefit from Hex Drinker, but usually people don't do it anymore. They go for the Wit's End instead. Or they're gonna go for Sterok's Gauge, just because the Lifeline passive is gonna overlap. So, yeah, in that case, don't go for Hex Drinker, but usually pretty good value. Attack damage, magic resistance. Honestly, I never go Hex Drinker, never. Just because you can't go Sterok's Gauge anymore. Magic damage, that puts you under 35% HP, grants a shield that absorbs 150 magic damage. Can be good, kinda situational. Those are tier 2 items. Let's talk about double passives or overlapping passives. What did I write down? Lifeline, Last Whisper, Spellblade. Lifeline, Sterok's Gauge, and Hex Drinker, aka Maw of Malmortius. Even though Maw of Malmortius got buffed, it is still a shitty item. The function is for Bruisers to have an item where you get magic resistance and a shield, but usually having the Sterok's Gauge is so much better just because of the plus 50% bonus attack damage. So I would always go for Sterok's Gauge over Maw of Malmortius. They tried to buff it, but I don't think it's worth it. And the next one was Trinity Force, the Rage one. I talked about it already. Then we have Spellblade, which is Trinity Force, Lich Bane, and Iceborne Gauntlet. Iceborne Gauntlet is a pretty good item on champions that want the armor, the mana, and the ability haste. So a Malphite, a Gragas can benefit from those from this item pretty well. Using an ability causes the next out attack used within 10 seconds to deal bonus physical damage equal to 200% in an area. It also creates an icy field for 2 seconds that slows enemy inside by 30%. So it's really good to keep to use this item to keep the opponent occupied with your crowd control. Armor increases the size of the icy field. Damage is reduced versus structures. So Gragas and the Malphite, they benefit from this item pretty well. But yeah, the Spellblade doesn't overlap as well. Then otherwise I talked about Mortal Reminder, the Last Whisper doesn't overlap as well. And otherwise, I'm not. Energized items do overlap. They do overlap. You can get Storm Razor, you can get Static Shift. And what else is? Rapid Fire Cannon. So those are the 3 energized items, and they do overlap. And I know which item. I know on Jhin people like the crit energized build, like Storm Razor, a rapid fire and maybe a static. Static is too much. And oh yeah, Phantom Dancer also has Lifeline. So this item also overlaps with Sterox Gauge and more of my Mortios. Otherwise, I think that's about it. Let's talk about supports. Support core items. It depends on enchant. Like you can divide it by enchanters and by tanks. But usually enchanters, they like to go Staff of Flowing Water is a really good core item. Ardent Sensor, Harmonic Echo. I think the enchanters usually go for those 3 items. Those 2 are the main, and then maybe a Harmonic Echo later on. So Staff of Flowing Water gives you ability power, 350 max mana, 20 ability haste, and healing or shielding an ally grants you both 20 ability haste and 20 to 40 ability power for 4 seconds. Ardent Sensor, 250 HP, 60 ability power, 10 ability haste, plus 5% movement speed. Sensor, when you heal or shield an ally champion, both of you gain 10 to 30% attack speed, and your attacks deal bonus magical damage. So for enchanters like Nami, Lulu, even Rakan benefits from Ardent Sensor. Ajana as well. Those benefit from those 2 enchanter core items a lot. Also Harmonic Echo, 75 ability power, 300 mana, 10 ability haste. Moving and casting ability builds harmony. At 100 harmony, your next healing or shielding ability cast on an ally restores 70 health plus 10% AP. Scaling to your target and up to 3 nearby ally champions. So those are really, really good core items for enchanters. Then this item is really good for tanks, Ziki's Convergence, and maybe, I mean, I wouldn't say it's a core item necessary. Protector is also good for tanky support champions. So Ziki's Convergence, 40 armor, 40 magic resistance, 150 max mana, 10 ability haste. Casting your ultimate surrounds you with a blizzard and enhances a nearby ally's attack for 10 seconds. Your blizzard slows by 20% and your ally attacks burn enemies, dealing 30% of attacks damage as bonus magic damage over 2 seconds. Frostfire Covenant, slowing a burning enemy with your blizzard causes it to deal additional magical damage and slows by 50% for 3 seconds. So this item is really amazing on champions like Leona, Alistar, Braum, so tanky support champions. Even on a Rakan, but usually people like to go Rakan hybrid with Ardent Sensor, Road of Age, ability power. Protector's Vow gives you HP, armor, ability haste, so pretty good stats. And then Protector, raise your guard when next to an ally champion. If you or your ally take damage from a champion, monster or turret, both of you receive 125 shield plus 25 bonus HP plus 15 AP and 20 movement speed. Otherwise, Deadman's Blade is pretty good on those or Abyssal Mask. Deadman's Blade on Alistar, for example, for the extra movement speed. Abyssal Mask for the nearby enemy champions take 15 bonus magic damage on top of that. So great stats. First of all, HP, magic resistance, mana, ability haste. Restores mana equal to 15% of the damage taken from champions and region. Health equal to 20% of mana spent, kept at 25 health per cast. But basically it's more about the stats and the Abyssal passive. Also, I guess for support, some champions go for Athene's Unholy Grail, which gives you more healing. Ability power, magic resistance, healing. Or they go for tier early on. If they run out of mana and then later on furnish it into Archangel Staff. Or they get the Death Cap even. Or they get the Death Cap, or they get the Road of Age. But usually, that's only for... I mean, I wouldn't call it core item. Same for Death Cap, I wouldn't call it core item. You can buy it later on, but usually I wouldn't call it core item. Yeah, let's talk about boots quickly, and enchantments. And then afterwards, we're gonna talk about each item. Quickly. I think the video is gonna be way too long. Okay, I think the main boots that are really, really good are Mercury's Threads, Steel Caps. Oh, I can't even show it, okay. Mercury Threads, Movement Speed, Magic Resistant, and the Tenacity. Reduces the duration of stuns, slows, taunts, fears, silences, blinds, and immobilizes by 35%. So you can reduce the duration of any crowd control, or majority of crowd control, not knockups, not knockups. And you also have the active to get more movement speed. Then Steel Caps gives you armor instead, blocks 15% of damage from physical attacks. So if they have heavy crowd control, you go for Mercury. If they have a lot of physical damage, go for Steel Caps. And then otherwise, what I like to run, cooldown reduction boots on mages pretty good, or on champions like Riven that benefit from the crowd control, from the ability haste, from the cooldown reduction. Gluttonous Graves on some ADCs for the extra lifesteal and magical vamp. Boots of Swiftness. I think the only champion that I use this on is maybe a Garen, because he already has the tenacity and he can roam better with this item. But that's about it, I guess. Maybe on Misfortune as well, for the movement speed. Let's talk about enchantments. Stasis is one of the best enchantments in the game. Become untargetable for 2.5 seconds, but you can move. With this, you can stay longer in teamfights, and you might be able to survive longer. Plus, you can dodge abilities like Kamiya ultimate, Z ultimate by using stasis. Locket for support is pretty good. It grants an AoE shield for your teammates. Glory gives yourself some movement speed. Protobelt for the quick dash. It can be combined with a lot of abilities for combo. Quicksilver to remove any crowd control. Stoneplate, really good item and great synergy with Sterox Gauge passive. Increases your health by 65% while reducing damage dealt by 60% for 4 seconds. This is an amazing item on Bruisers and tanks, and it combines really well with the Sterox Gauge passive lifeline. Then Redemption on supports to get more vision. You can use it in a radius on the map to get vision, to heal the opponent, to heal your allies, to do damage onto the opponent, and to do damage onto monsters, for example. Swift Shadows, pretty good to slow down the opponent, and it's a good item against champions that have invisibility, like a Rengar, Evelynn, Akali, Shroud. Then Teleport. Most of the times used by split pushers to join the team fight, or if you guys want to backdoor, then teleport is also great. So teleport pretty good to just get the map advantage or the man advantage in team fights, or join team fights pretty quickly when you're at the opposite side of the map. Otherwise, do I really want to cover every single item? Oh, it's gonna take forever. What did I miss so far? Item combos. What are the best item combos? Trinity, Sterox Gauge, and Stoneplate. Item combos. We can talk about situational items as well. When to buy which situational item. I mean, obviously, situational items. I mean, if you guys need enter here, you have Mortar Reminder. You have Morello. Or you just get the tier 2 items as well. TTO items would be Oblivion Orb. It would be Executioner's Calling. Would be Thormail as well. And also the tier 1 item Rumble Vest. If you guys need anti-heal, situational. Otherwise, Frozen, Running's Omen. Very, very good situational item. If you guys face a lot of critical strike or critical damage from Yasuo, Graves, Vayne, any AD champion as well. Like, let's say they have Yasuo plus an ADC. Always go for Running's Omen. It reduces attack speed and critical strike damage. Running's Omen must have then as a situational item. Otherwise, Crystalline Reflector and Banshee's Veil are great situational items for AP champions. Banshee's Veil, ability power, magic resistance, and it blocks a spell. Pretty good against poking champions. Then Crystalline Reflector, if you're an AP champion and you need more armor and blocking more physical damage thanks to the passive, then Crystalline Reflector is great. And for AD champions, I guess you could think about, okay, what if I need more magic resistance and I don't want to buy more of my Mortius because it's shit, then you can go for Wit's End. Attack speed, 50 magic resistance, and basic attack deals 15 to 80 bonus magical damage. While below 50% HP, dealing damage to enemy champions heals you for 100% of this effect's post mitigation damage. So this is an item that is really good on. You can run it on Camille. It's one of the core items on Aurelia. On Vayne, if you guys need magic resistance, it's really good on Vayne. Or ADC champions in general can benefit from Wit's End pretty well. We're just talking about situational items in the late game, right? I already talked, Guardian Angel is a must-have not only for Bruisers but also for tanks. It's just amazing late game item. Even on ADCs, Guardian Angel, core item. It's just amazing. I think, basically if you run 5 Guardian Angels, that's so insanely good. So, I talked about Bruisers, ADCs, tanks in general, and assassins. They all can run Guardian Angel as one of the last items, or 5th or 6th spot. Pretty good. And I think majority of the other items are just super situational, or depending on the champions. I think I've covered most things already. Spirit Visage, if you guys... Okay, let's talk about... If you guys need armor in the late game, which items? Thormail is good for the armor, HP, the damage reflection, and the anti-heal. Running's Omen, I talked about it. Sunfire is for HP and AoE damage. You usually buy it early on. Deadman's Blade for extra movement speed. Frozen Heart is almost never used. I guess if you guys need mana and you need ability haste, it can be good. So maybe on a Gragas, maybe on a Galio, maybe on Malphite, it can be good. That's for armor. Iceborne Gauntlet, it's very situational. Very situational. Like, in my mind, you have maybe Gragas and Malphite that are using this item. And then for magic resistance, you have Spirit Visage for HP, magic resistance, ability haste, and extra healing. Like, the healing amount is getting increased by 30%. Or Force of Nature is the equivalent of Deadman's Blade, but for magic resistance, it also grants you more movement speed. Hextech Mega Drive is shit item, no one uses it. Ixtali, Sija, also shit item, no one uses it. I don't think I need to explain it because they're both really bad. Like, literally, I don't think any champion uses those two items. So is there a need to explain an item that's not even used? I don't think so. And for magic items, Luden's Echo is a very good item when it comes to poking champions. Ari, Gragas, Ziggs, Orianna, they like to go Luden's Echo. And if you guys want a great item that gives you tons of mana and tons of ability haste, Then Seraph's Embrace or Archangel's Staff is super good on those poking champions. Oriana, Ziggs, for example, or Morgana. Because it gives you ability power, mana, ability haste, and when you have the max dex, it gives you an extra shield. And it gives you even more ability power based on your max mana. Those are two items that are really good on poking champions. Then on more, let's talk about more aggressive champions or more aggressive mage champions that go melee much more often, like a Diana, Akali, Gragas. Those champions like to go Lichbane, for example. It's the equivalent of Trinity Force, but for AP champions. 80 ability power, 10 ability haste, movement speed, and after using an ability, your next auto attack is gonna do additional bonus magical damage. So Gragas, Diana, Akali, they like to use this item. Those are just examples. Maybe I'm missing a champion. Don't murder me. And otherwise, Infinity Orb is a great item on a lot of mage champions that like to burst people down, not only for poking champions but also for more assassin type mages. 200 HP, 60 ability power, 5 movement speed, 15 magic penetration, and abilities and empowered attacks critical strike for 20% bonus damage against enemies below 35% HP. Nashor's Tooth. How many champions run this? I think basically only Diana needs it. I think Diana benefits the most from this item. 50 attack speed, 70 ability power, 25 ability haste, attack deal 15 bonus magic damage plus 15% AP. Why is it so good on Diana? Because of her passive. Every 3 auto attacks, your next auto attack is going to be enhanced and doing additional damage. So with this item, she can proc the passive much more often, and it does AoE damage, the passive. And then Rylai's. How many champions use Rylai's? Morgana, maybe. Singed, maybe a Cannon. 350 HP, 70 ability power, and damaging active abilities slow the opponent. Works really well on a Singe because his first ability, the gas, is gonna slow them down. I think we talk about every item almost. Gunblade, Akali, Katarina, maybe a Cannon. It gives you attack damage, ability power, and Jax, maybe Jax as well. Jax can run this as well. 15 magical vamp, 15 physical vamp, and hitting an enemy champion with an attack or ability shocks them for magical damage plus 30% AP and slows them by 40% for 2 seconds. What makes this item so good? It is because those champions benefit from both AD and AP because they have AD and AP scalings. So Katarina, Akali, a Cannon is more about the auto attacks that he can do in the early game, not necessary for the scaling. And Jax, because he has AD and AP scaling. Yeah, I've covered every item here. Maybe Awakened Soul Stealer. I think this item is shit. How many champions run this? Maybe a Teemo. I've seen a Teemo Awakened Soul Stealer build, just so he can spam the ultimate much more often. Unique Takedowns grants 3 ultimate haste, capping at 15 after 5 stacks. So you can get up to 40 ability haste, basically, for the ultimate. Oh no, wait. Oh wait, ability haste only applies for abilities, and Awakened Soul Stealer ultimate haste is for the ultimate itself. So, which champions actually benefit from this? Teemo can spam his shrooms much more often. No, of your ultimate as ability haste would. No, never mind, ability haste does it as well. You almost jebaited me. I almost got jebaited by the description. Never mind, yeah, so 40 was correct. 40 ability haste on the ultimate at max stacks. Meh, can go for it. Which items did I not cover here? I guess the energized crit items. I mean, Stormrazor basically just slows the opponent. So if you have a lot of If you run around a lot, you get 100 stacks, and then the next auto attack is gonna slow them down. Storm Rays are a pretty shitty item. It used to be really good because the next auto attack was a guaranteed crit, but now it's a shitty item. And then Rapid Fire, it's the same, but it gives you... The next auto attack will have more range. So on some champions, this can be pretty good as the fourth or 5th item. Static Shift, it does AoE damage for the Energize effect. So, who benefits? Maybe a Tryndamere can run static. Phantom Dancer, I talked about, it's kind of situational. Maybe a Master Yi, a Tryndamere, they are gonna benefit from the Phantom Dancer, or maybe a Vayne as well, because it has the lifeline and it gives you crit rate. Navori's Quick Blade's a pretty good item on champions that benefit or have high cooldowns on their abilities, and with this you can reduce the cooldowns. Whenever you crit, you can reduce the cooldown of your abilities by 15% of the remaining cooldown. If your cooldown is already low of your abilities, like the cooldown of your abilities is already low, then 50% of remaining cooldown is not a lot. Then it's not worth. For example, Lucian. Lucian can reduce the cooldown of his abilities thanks to his auto attacks already a lot. Or the passive. By the passive. The passive reduces the cooldown of the third ability. But yeah, Navori's Quick Blades is situational. Maybe a Vayne. Maybe on Kai'Sa as well. I think I talked about every item now. Did I miss any physical items here? Essence Reaver. Essence Reaver is like a weaker version of Trinity, but it has crit rate and ability haste. I mean, which champions run Essence Reaver? Maybe a Corki, maybe a Lucian. Pretty situational, but yeah, it's basically a crit version of Trinity Force, but weaker. Since damaging active abilities and empowered attacks deal 10 bonus physical damage plus 70% AD. Each ability can only trigger this effect, and you get some mana back. So champions that run out of mana quickly, like Corki and Lucian, benefit from this item. But yeah, I think I've covered every item. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like, subscribe, leave down some feedback, and write down in the comments below what other guides you would like to see. And that's gonna be it. Bye bye.
Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush.